Welcome to America in 2025, where you don't need to win the lottery to lose your home, just open your insurance bill. Last month, 35,797 foreclosure filings were submitted across the United States. A disturbing figure, but what's even more frightening is the trend. A steady increase for 6 consecutive months. With nearly 1 million people behind on their mortgages, the question is no longer, are we in a crisis? But rather, how quickly is the crisis spreading? From Florida to California, from Texas to Ohio, people are recounting stories that sound like they came straight out of 2008. Insurance bills up $700 in just 1 year. Property taxes doubled in 10 years. Wages not enough to cover basic expenses. But there's one difference. This time, it's not due to the bank lending carelessly. This time, it's because the cost of living suddenly exceeded the affordability of even the middle class. In today's video, we'll analyze the 10 states leading the US in foreclosures and why millions of families feel they're losing a battle they never had a chance to win. And trust me, the top-ranking state will make you immediately reevaluate your family finances. Foreclosures in Ohio increased by over 18% in just 1 year. It sounds normal at first, but remember, this is a state where median income has been almost stagnant. No increase, no movement, no breath. A place where people work as hard as they did last year, but the bills act as if they just won the Powerball. Ohio is a land of paradoxes. The house is old. The infrastructure is worn out, the roof leaks when it rains, and the roads crack when it's sunny. But property taxes are rising as quickly as if the state had just discovered a gold mine under every house. It feels like driving a 1998 car, but you have to pay insurance premiums as if you were driving a 2024 Corvette. A little discussed point. Many counties in Ohio are raising taxes to fill budget gaps. Large businesses are leaving. Factories are shrinking, and the people are stuck with steadily increasing bills while their salaries remain stagnant. And when taxes go up and wages go down, you know what happens. The dream home starts to feel like an iron anchor, slowly but surely pulling the homeowner down. Middle-class families here find themselves in a predicament. Their homes are too old to repair, but too expensive to sell. Especially the elderly, those who have lived their entire lives in that house. They don't overspend, they don't have credit card debt, but they still struggle with a reality. The cost of home ownership is beyond their means. And then, Ohio appeared on the national foreclosure rankings, as if they're competing in a contest that no one wants to win. A resident once said, "Ohio is always trying to rise. It's just a shame it's rising in rankings no one wants to see." The saying sounds funny, but is painful. The question is, how many more families will fall into this spiral as taxes and repair costs continue to escalate? And if you live in Ohio, do you feel your home has become an asset or just an endless expense? But Ohio is just the starting point. If Ohio is a story of old taxes and infrastructure, the next state carries a completely different kind of pressure. The pressure of nature and insurance bills that make many people just sigh. Let's move on to the story in the next state. South Carolina is often sold to out-of-state buyers as a paradise. Low taxes, beautiful beaches, and a pleasant climate. A place to retire, relax, and go fishing on weekends. But it's a postcard. But in reality, drive along the Charleston coast and see the bank-owned property signs standing right at the edge of the road, as if waiting for someone to take a souvenir photo. Rapid population growth after COVID provided a boost, causing house prices to skyrocket. People from the north moved down, bringing with them the dream of a slower life. But then they met the biggest uninvited guest. Insurance bills increased by 30–50%, and in some cases even higher. In many coastal areas, insurance premiums for a typical house can be equal to a new car. What few people mention is that South Carolina is in a region prone to strong hurricanes, and insurance companies are not charities. The higher the risk, the higher the fee. It's as simple as that. And as the number of people moving in increased faster than the infrastructure could handle, the toll system began to hit people's wallets, especially retirees. Older families, who make up the largest percentage here, are feeling the pressure most acutely. They didn't buy the house to speculate. They bought it to live peacefully in their final years. But insurance costs, then HOA fees, then storm damage repairs, all of it adds up, forcing many people to make a difficult choice: keep their homes or maintain their financial security. House values are no longer holding up. When an area is labeled as a disaster risk zone, buyers hesitate. And as buyers slowed down, foreclosures began to increase. It's not because people are spending wastefully, but because they can't keep up with the numbers on the bills. One viewer once commented, "South Carolina is truly paradise, until you open your insurance bill and realize it's higher than your mortgage." It sounds sarcastic, but it's the genuine feeling of many families here. What do you think? If your insurance doubles in just 1 year, how long would you last? And South Carolina is just the beginning. Because in some states, the issue isn't insurance, but rather the disappearance of jobs, reduced income, and the destabilization of the regional economy. Please go to position number 8. Indiana is an interesting paradox. A state with such low living costs that many people from the coast dream of living so cheaply even once in their lives. Yet it has a rapidly increasing foreclosure rate. The average house price might be less than half that of coastal states, but incomes are also so low that many families feel like they're trying to fill a car with a fuel tank that's leaking from the inside. Look at the characteristics of many of the houses here. Most were built between the 1950s and 1970s. The walls are cracked, the roof is worn, and the electrical system has been tired for ages. And as repair costs rise, from the price of lumber to labor fees, many homeowners are forced to choose between fixing their homes or fixing their own financial lives. Most people choose the second option because it's simpler. A point that few people mention is, Indiana doesn't lose homes because housing prices are too high. Indiana lost homes due to job contraction. Manufacturing plants, which are the economic backbone of the state, are cutting staff. Logistics, which was once a lucrative industry, is no longer as strong as it used to be. Amazon cuts shifts. FedEx shrinks warehouse space. A silent wave, but enough to shake thousands of families who rely on hourly wages. And when income decreases, even low-cost mortgages become a barrier. Working-class families in Indiana often lack a financial buffer. A week without work is bearable. 1 month is tight. 2 months from now, that's when the foreclosure notice sign will appear on the door. Silent, cold, like a letter you never want to receive. Renters are choosing to leave the state. They went in search of better income elsewhere, leaving behind empty houses and neighborhoods that were once peaceful, now becoming illustrations of the phrase slowing market. There's a saying that's both true and sad. Indiana didn't collapse because of high prices. Indiana collapsed because wages weren't enough to live on. Do you see that reflecting the place where you live? Do you think this is just a temporary issue, or is it a sign of a major shift in the Midwestern economy? And if Indiana collapses due to low wages, the next state falls for an entirely different reason. The cost of living is so high that even those with stable incomes struggle to keep their homes. Let's go to state number 7 and hear their story. New Jersey is always a story that's hard to believe but true. A state located right next to the country's largest economic center, New York. But it leads the nation in property taxes, averaging over $9,500 per year. In other words, before you pay a single penny toward your mortgage. You already owe the government the equivalent of a family vacation in Florida. From the outside, New Jersey looks like a peaceful suburb of New York. Tree-lined streets, spacious houses, good schools. But when the tax bills arrived in mailboxes, many families began to understand why more and more residents were migrating back to Pennsylvania and Delaware, where taxes are nearly half as high. The unspoken truth that almost everyone avoids saying outright is this: New Jersey's public service system, from schools to welfare, is highly regarded, but the cost of maintaining it is increasingly burdensome for homeowners. The education budget is ballooning, service costs are rising, old infrastructure needs upgrading, and all those bills go through a single channel: property taxes. The problem is, houses in New Jersey are not cheap at all. Most of the buildings are old, the repair costs are high, and every upgrade is a strain on the budget. When taxes, insurance, and repairs increase, even families with a decent income, $120,000 to $150,000 per year, start to feel squeezed. Notably, the majority of home foreclosures in New Jersey occur in suburban areas, places that were once symbols of the old American dream. Large yards, white picket fences, and SUVs parked in the driveway. But that dream is fading, little by little, through increasingly thick tax letters. One viewer commented very typically of New Jersey, working in New York, but losing their home in Jersey. The statement sounds sarcastic, but reflects the sentiment of many families. They don't live lavishly. They just live in a state where the cost of living is rising faster than their income. The question is, are you willing to pay the highest taxes in the country to keep your home? Or will you do what thousands of other families have done? Pack your bags and move to the next state. And if New Jersey makes the middle class feel suffocated by taxes, the next state makes even high earners sigh, because the cost of living is unbearable. Let's move on to the next state. California was once considered the place where all dreams begin. But in recent years, the saying is changing to, every dream is on hold until you open the bill. A viewer recounted, the neighboring restaurant was seized. The BMW on the driveway was towed away right in front of me. It was California in 2025, where even the beautiful neighborhoods carried a hint of weariness. Here, house prices are not only high. It's so tall that you have to look at the listing while checking your heart rate. The median home price is over $800,000, and that's before you add insurance, taxes, and a bunch of miscellaneous fees. Insurance has increased significantly, especially after the wildfires. Property taxes, even though limited by law, still increase in areas where house prices are rising. What about living expenses? Just walking into a grocery store in Los Angeles, you know you're not young anymore because everything makes you sigh like an uncle who just finished reading the newspaper. But this is the part that few people outside the state understand. California is not just a victim of high costs, but also a victim of a volatile tech economy. From 2024 to 2025, Intel cuts 24,000 jobs. Microsoft is cutting 15,000 jobs. Meta cuts 3,600. Google and Amazon are also downsizing their workforce. And when the tech industry sneezes, all of California catches a cold. Families earning $180,000, $250,000 per year might seem secure. But with a mortgage of $5,000, $7,000 per month, plus taxes and insurance, that income level is only enough to get by, not enough to save. Just a small fluctuation, a layoff, or a bonus cut, and many families fall off track. It's no surprise that more and more middle-class people are leaving the state. They went to Texas, Arizona, Idaho, to find a sense of being alive, not just to pay bills. The consequences are empty houses, unstable neighborhood values, and a distorted market. There's a very California-appropriate irony. Here, earning $0,000 a year is only enough to make you not feel poor. It sounds fun, but anyone who lives there understands how deeply it resonates. So the question is, will California continue to be the promised land, or will it become a place where even the wealthy have to retreat? Do you think this is just a short-term cycle or a sign of long-term change? And if California is the symbol of exorbitant costs, the next state is the symbol of something else. The burden of public debt and taxes that will last for generations. Ready? Let's continue with state number 5. If taxes were a sport, Illinois would probably have lifted the trophy years ago. Property taxes here are consistently among the top 2 highest in the United States, and residents have to pay enough taxes that people in other states think you're funding the entire city. Chicago was once a symbol of industrial might, vibrant nightlife, and bustling neighborhoods. But in recent years, the exodus has been faster than the wind blowing across Lake Michigan. The result? Houses are cheaper than before, but the feeling of being cheap, yet no one dares to buy, is what's worth mentioning. A neighborhood can be beautiful, but when the for sale sign stays up longer than a traffic light, you know the market is gasping for air. There's an underlying truth that the media and press often limit their exploration of. Illinois is burdened with one of the largest pension debts in the country, spanning decades. The public budget is stretched thin, and the familiar solution is always to raise property taxes. A little bit each year, adding up to a number that makes people wonder, am I paying for a service or am I paying for the past? High costs don't just affect young people. Older homeowners, those who have almost paid off their mortgages, are precisely the group at greatest risk. When taxes increase, but fixed incomes like pensions remain unchanged, many people begin to fall into an undesirable cycle. Late taxes, penalties, financial pressure, home foreclosure. It's heartbreaking to hear, but some people say, I didn't lose my home because I borrowed too much. I lost my house because the taxes were higher than the loan payments. A seemingly sarcastic statement, but one that accurately reflects the sentiment of many Illinois residents. They are not in crisis because of wasteful spending. They are simply living within a system where fixed costs are increasing faster than they can bear. The environment is also affected. As the population declines, shops close, schools lack funding, and gaps begin to appear in what were once safe residential areas. And a house foreclosed by the bank in the neighborhood always creates a sense of unease, like a door opening to bigger problems. So the question is, if you live in Illinois, would you accept paying high taxes forever to keep your home? Or would you do what tens of thousands of others have done? Find a new place to start over? Do you think the solution lies in policy or in the increasingly strong migration of people? And Illinois is just a picture of financial strain. The next panel told a completely different story, an economy based on luck, and when the market faltered, the entire state trembled. Let's move on to position number 4. Rhode Island is so small that you can drive from one end of the state to the other in the time it takes to listen to a country song. But in the foreclosure rankings, the smallest state in the country is in the highest group with a 51% increase, a figure that made many people raise their eyebrows and ask, small state, small risk, right? Unfortunately, the reality is completely the opposite. Rhode Island has a unique characteristic. Most of the housing here is old, outdated, deteriorated, and requires repair costs that many middle-class families cannot afford. A roof needs replacing, an electrical system needs upgrading. Each time we repair something, it's a blow to our already thin savings. And when repair costs are as high as Super Bowl ticket prices, many people let things slide, until the bank sends a letter no one wants to receive. But the real reason lies deeper. Rhode Island's manufacturing sector declined for years, leading to stagnant median incomes, while the cost of living crept up little by little. Stable jobs in factories are no longer plentiful. And when young people see a bleak future, they leave the state. The result? The population is aging, incomes are stagnant, and many neighborhoods are becoming quieter than concerning. When young people leave, many houses stand empty. Empty homes not only drive down property values, but also force banks to rush liquidation to cut losses, creating a cycle of foreclosures. The once warm and bustling neighborhoods now have silent, closed windows, like houses holding space for instability. A resident once said, "Rhode Island is small, but the problems are just as big as anywhere else." It's a half-joking, half-serious saying, but the people of Rhode Island understand that they live in a state where financial risk can come from the most trivial things: a job cut, an unexpected repair bill, a tax increase of a few $100s. Wyoming is often referred to as America's tax haven. No state income tax, wide open spaces, affordable homes, and skies so vast they make you think life here is always as light as a prairie breeze. But the financial reality is colder than the mountain night wind. Wyoming ranks second on the list of foreclosures, and what surprised many people the most was the speed. In most states, the foreclosure process takes over 2.5 years, but in Wyoming, only about 125 days. Before winter was even over, the house had changed owners. It was so fast that if you blinked for too long, you could miss the notice posted right on the front door. The irony is, housing in Wyoming looks cheap, but income sources are unstable. Many communities depend on the energy sector, oil, gas, mining, which are highly cyclical industries. As energy prices fell, jobs disappeared faster than the wind changes direction on the prairie. And when you lose your job in a state with limited economic support, just 2 to 3 months of lost income can plunge many families into a financial spiral. Wyoming's population is low. That creates a sense of peace, but it also means the economy is difficult to diversify. There aren't many professions to switch to. There's not much chance of turning things around. If the main job disappears, the next option is usually leaving the state or accepting financial risk. Many Wyoming residents share that owning a home here sometimes feels like a gamble. When there's work, life is good. When you lose your job, all you can do is count the days. Is a fast foreclosure system good because it helps the market be transparent, or does the very speed of it mean that struggling families no longer have a chance to recover? Do you see Wyoming as a model for improvement or as a warning to states with similar processes? Wyoming is a story about fragility. And if Wyoming is where people lose because of speed, the final state, number 1, is where people lose because of cost. The cost of everything, from insurance and taxes to the very value of their home. Let's start with the state at the top of the list. Florida. Florida, the land of sunshine, beaches, flamingos, and now the state with one foreclosure for every 267 homes, the worst rate in the United States. A percentage sufficient for you to see that the foreclosure table in Florida is no longer an exception. It's part of the landscape. During COVID, Florida was like the hottest commodity in the country. People from New York, California, and New Jersey are flocking here like they're migrating to escape the cold. House prices have skyrocketed. New neighborhoods are constantly springing up, and real estate agents are so busy they can't even answer the phone. But like any fever, as the temperature drops, the consequences begin to show. After the Surfside tragedy, condominium inspection laws were tightened. That's good for safety, but it opens the door to a host of new costs: rigorous inspections, structural repairs, system upgrades. Some condo owners were surprised to receive special assessment bills of tens of thousands of dollars, while many retirees in Florida live on fixed incomes. Not yet. Home insurance increases by an average of 25% per year, HOA fees increase by 40–60%, and property taxes in many counties are among the fastest growing in the country. A regular house can also have insurance bills that are equal to the entire bank loan in other states. What's the result? the people under the most pressure are precisely the most vulnerable: the elderly, veterans, and middle-class families. The house that was once their dream retirement home has become a place they have to consider selling quickly, or worse, being foreclosed on despite owning it for only a few years. Is Florida an early warning sign that insurance and infrastructure costs are pushing the entire country into a new cycle of risk? Or is this just a state-specific problem, where natural disasters and immigration have created unavoidable pressure? And Florida, though at the top of the list, is only a part of the bigger picture. Because what's scary isn't that one state is falling into crisis, but that this trend is spreading across the United States. Let's move to the conclusion to get an overview and find out what happens next.